Hey, welcome to the channel. It's Jack, the muscle and mobility maker with Stronghold Strength and Conditioning. And today, I'm going to be showing you how to resolve that lower back pain you're having when you're running. But before we get into it, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Saturday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance inside the gym and outside of it in your daily life and routine. It doesn't get better than that, so take advantage of it. Ready? Let's go ahead and dive into this one. All right, like I said, today we're going to be showing you how to take care of that lower back pain you're getting when you run. And there's a few key areas that we're going to be wanting to look at to really make sure we're addressing all the areas that could potentially be feeding this problem and likely are each playing a role in it overall. Your feet and ankles, your hips, and your core overall are going to play an important role in how you're experiencing your runs, how you're handling the impact of each stride, and overall how well your efficiency of your mechanics are when you're running. So it's very important that we understand how those pieces and parts play their job or play out their function to make sure that our body is being very efficient in the run and that our lower back is not taking the brunt of the load. Oftentimes, we're going to see that there's either a combination of poor core control, missing hip extension, or some variation of mechanics at the toes and ankle that are missing, that are changing our gait overall, and that are causing that back pain with repetition over repetition. Because that's what running is. So we have to really take it for what it is. It's a high repetition sport where a lot of that repetition over time with poor mechanics is going to lead to some detrimental things, effects like lower back pain. So when we look at the toes, what we're looking for is, are there any bunions or narrowing of the toes or even hammer toes where it's showing that there's scrunching of the foot? This could be caused by your footwear, I should say, as a runner. So we want to be very cautious with the footwear that we're using when we run, because if it is changing our overall foot structure, overall that's a problem in the long run. No pun intended there. Okay? So we want to look to make sure, again, no bunions, no hammer toes, and that we're really working on the overall intrinsic foot strength that we have from the ground up. Reason being is if those toes start to narrow, okay, or if I lack the toe extension that I should have, we'll start to see more of a foot turnout shape because my body will want to avoid putting pressure through those toes in that way. And bunions can do that as an issue, or they start to be a result of that. I can't extend my toe, so my toe needs to get out of the way, okay? Or I might have developed that from further upstream as well, okay? So looking at the ankle itself, if I lack ankle dorsiflexion, that ankle can't bend quite well, that would also cause me to have a similar foot turnout, okay? And again, these things don't always have to be isolated. They might just be combinations that are occurring. So the toes, the ankle dorsiflexion is a big one when we're pressing off or running through that stride, making sure that that ankle has enough bend that you're able to push off without having to turn that foot out. That's a big key. And then at the hip itself, missing extension can be a big one that can cause lower back pain, or even missing external rotation. If we miss extension, when I go to push off again and I don't have extension at the hip, well, somebody's got to extend, and usually it will be that lumbar spine. So there, again, we end up compensating to make sure I can still get the movement done, even though it may not be as efficient as it should be. And if I'm missing external rotation, or my hips are weak and they always cave inward, this internally rotated shape will naturally cause me to come into an anterior pelvic tilt. Okay, so these are all things that are feeding excess curvature of the spine or improper alignment of your core overall. So we want to be able to just check and make sure also that we're able to run with a good neutral pelvis and spine, so that we're able to maintain that as we run, and that our body and our stride aren't making compensations in that way when it comes to how we're running overall. So hopefully you caught all that. Hopefully that all makes sense. Now let's go ahead and look at some exercises that you can do to actually address those areas and start to reverse that lower back pain that you're having with your running. All right, so we're gonna start from the ground up, building up the feet first here. This is gonna be a passive active splay of the toes. So interlace your fingers with the opposite foot so that you can get them in there nice and deep to start. If this is hard to begin with, you might need some lotion in the first place to get started with this one. And even if it's not that hard, it can make it a little bit easier to get those fingers in between and take a little bit more space if you have a little less grip in between there. What I want to do is flex my toes so that I'm squeezing my fingers with my foot. I'm going to flex for about 5 seconds here, and then I'm going to relax and actually interlace the fingers deeper into the toe webbing. So I want to try and get those fingers in there really as deep as I can and keep pushing those tissues back so that I can create as much space here. And you'll see actively here after how much space I have different from my left foot to my right when I do a little bit of an active splay. So following that up, we do want to go active on the splay here. And you can see my left foot does have a lot more space than my right. I can get my right open, and I only did my left just a second ago, so you can see the difference that it can make in those toes right there just by spending a few minutes to work that passive to active splay there and give them some time to open up in that way. Here I'm working on spreading my toes as much as possible, trying to see as much space as I can between the toes, and I'm just holding that for about 5 to 10 seconds, making sure I could feel all the musculature of my foot curling up into my ankle there and the strength that I need from my feet to make that splay happen. And here we have one more variety that'll help you. This is what I call a pin and fan. So you're gonna pin the first metatarsal behind the big toe down so that it does not move. And then you're going to reach out the smallest toes, fanning them out as far as possible, leading with the smallest toe and trying to touch it down as far away from that big toe as possible. So still working active splay here, but another variation that you can use, and it gives you a little bit more ground contact to work with so you can feel how that foot should be able to splay and open up when your foot is pressured to the ground overall. So use that strength, open those toes, and let's give them some space to work with when you're running here. Next, we're going to address your big toe extension and really all your toes extension here. So tuck those toes underneath you, sit your butt to your heels, and then drive up, extending your hips, focusing on a good contraction of the glutes. Every time you sit back down, you want to settle into that bottom position as much as you can, allowing yourself to relax on those extended toes. So this is a great way to just get that toe extension back, and you can play with this, adding load even to help open that up even further. All right, here we're working that ankle dorsiflexion that I mentioned, but we do also get some toe extension strength here, you'll see in a second. So place a band low on a post. You're gonna put it around the front of the ankle so that it's pulling right about where your ankle would bend there. And then you're planting that foot up on a bench so that you have it elevated, or a chair, whatever you have access to. You're gonna raise up into the toes as high as you can. Here I'm driving my knee over my smallest toes, okay? And as I raise up, you can see I push off with both toes here from the back leg and the front. And I'm driving into that band as much as I can for 5 to 10 seconds, and then allowing it to pull me back into a deeper dorsiflexion. So I want to go as relaxed as possible when I put the foot back down, heel back to the bench. Okay, when I'm up, it's all about getting that engagement. When I'm down, relax, let it go passive for a few seconds, get some more range of motion there. Next, we're looking at hip extension. So my band is up at hip height now. I've got it around one leg like a climbing harness, And here I'm doing a split stance glute contraction. So I'm just flexing my glutes while that band pulls. You'll feel a big hip flexor pull right here. And you can take it lower as you get stronger. So we want to make sure that our knees right below my hip, and we can even make that lunges as well. So we want to make sure that we can take that through a full range of motion. And this is going to help open up that hip extension so that your lumbar spine is not arching to compensate. So be very conscious of your core positioning, making sure you're not arching your back in this position. I'm also a very big fan of the couch stretch. This is still working hip extension here. You're gonna place one leg in the corner of the room. And again, you can see the glute contraction that I'm working with. When I use the glutes here, that's cueing my body to use my glutes to extend the hip and release the hip flexors so that they can allow the glutes to do their job really and stabilize my pelvis better. So focus on that glute contraction, really seeing how much you can open up the hip. And then we're going to start going vertical. Again, as you get more vertical, we want to be very conscious that that vertical position is not arching the lumbar spine as it occurs. So it's very important that you maintain good core posture. Think about your glutes engaging or abs engaging to make sure that you're not arching, and you're using that glute contraction to help stabilize in each position. And the last one we're going to address is that hip external rotation. I'm a big fan of the pigeon pose here because it gets external rotation on that front hip, but we could also practice a nice internally rotated extended back hip. So again, I want to be conscious that as that leg extends further back, that I'm not arching my lumbar spine to allow for that position. Okay, and now that we've already opened up those hip flexors, this could be a great one to follow up with to really solidify the process. And what you've seen me do there is a glute contraction here where I rise up on that front leg, engage the glutes, get the hip to engage and fire, and then when I relax, that's when I take more range of motion each time. So contract, relax, take it a little bit deeper as your body allows based off of that muscle relaxation with each contraction that you have there. And the final thing we want to do is stabilize all our work. So here I'm working external rotation strength. This will actually improve my hip internal rotation as I allow the band to pull me in, but I'm in a half kneeling position. I've got my glutes extending the back knee, keeping my pelvis stable here. And then I'm focusing on opening that front knee so that it lines up with my smaller toes. My foot stays planted the whole time, so I'm just only reaching as far as I can in both directions with that foot planted as I internally and externally rotate the hip against that resistance there. And as I mentioned, good core stability above is very important. And we want to use contralateral movements for runners because that's what running is, contralateral. So I have my contralateral reach dead bug here, and I've got my low back imprinted down in the mat. So I'm really focusing on pulling my abdomen into a good neutral position here so that they're holding my spine stable as I extend the arm and leg. And I'm making sure that my core doesn't compensate as I reach out in each reach here. As you get better with the dead bug, you can turn it over and progress it with a bird dog. Okay, you have to be very conscious here that as you extend the leg and arm that you're not arching your lumbar spine and that you are feeling your glutes engage to extend the leg. That's the very important part about this one. So just make sure that as you reach out the arm and the leg, the focus is on extending as far as you can where you feel the glutes flexing tight on each side. The arm reaches out. You will have some flexion in the middle. Here I'm reaching my elbow to the tip of the knee in the middle and then extending out from there, and that's okay. We want that movement to help, again, restore control over the spinal column. It's watching the extension where we need to be careful. All right, and there you have it. How to address that lower back pain you're having with your runs. If you like this video, make sure you let me know by clicking that big thumbs up down below, and take a moment to share this one with a friend if they are a runner and they struggle with lower back pain when they are running. Share the love, pass it along their way. If this is something you've been experiencing for a long time now and you've been having bigger issues, or there's other training injuries that have been keeping you from training the way that you really want to at the intensity that you really want to, and you're ready for my direct help to resolve those issues, what I want you to do right now is drop down below in the description to fill out a coaching application and schedule a mobility blueprint call. This will be our opportunity to get on a Zoom call together so that I could first of all take you through a full assessment and gather all the information that I'm going to need to tailor that program specific to your needs. Then I'll be able to lay out for you in full detail on that call what that program is going to look like and talk you through the coaching process. So if that sounds good to you, let me know. Go ahead, drop down in that description, fill out that application, get that call scheduled, and we'll start moving in that direction. Last but not least, if you have not already, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Saturday I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injuries, and overall optimize your performance inside the gym and outside of it in your daily life and routine, and it does not get better than that. Welcome to the Stronghold Army. We'll see you next week.